Reclaim host.
Okay, there we go.
Will you start our video, please?
I sure will.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Alright. Okay, hold on a minute.
All right, we can start now.
Alright, can we start? Are we ready?
Yeah.
You have everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, good afternoon. It's 12:03. It is October 9th, and we're here for a special meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. We have 5 things on our new items of business today, and since it's a special meeting, we'll just go into our new business. First up on the agenda, we have a discussion and consideration to make an award for fuel mitigation work, treatment work, and this is work that was, I'm just looking to see if we have any of our partners online, but we don't, and that's okay. This is work that is being managed by primarily the Colorado State Forest Service, and they are administering and putting out the RFPs for bids on specific properties. This property is along County Road 4. It is the Saunders property, and we have grant funding through the Colorado Strategic Wildfire Action Program, or COSWAP. We got the COSWAP Swift Cruise, and we got COSWAP funds of $500,000 to put towards the scope of the project over the next 3 years, and this is the first. So the bids, RFP went out, bids were collected and reviewed by the Colorado State Forest Service, Adam Moore and JT Shaver, and they are making a suggestion. Let me pull this up. They have a suggestion for us. Okay, we got four bids, and they're suggesting we select Terra Firma Forestry. They were selected because of their plan of operation, their bid price, and their previous work that they have completed. The project cost will be $34,200 to treat 19 acres. And the other bids received were from Beetle Tree Guys, Hemlock Consulting, Legacy Forest Management LLC, and Terra Firma Bids. Any question from the board on the award?
None for me. Sounds good.
All right,
None for me either.
great. If there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to award the bid to Terra Firma Forestry for the 19-acre fuel mitigation treatment project.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
None for me, thank you.
None for me.
All right, hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Great, thank you. Get back to the agenda. All right, and second, we have discussion and consideration of the Planning Commission's recommendation on our land use file 23-13 and 14, an application for a major subdivision and planned unit development sketch plan located just north of Leadville, known as the 416 Ditcher Placer. The joint public hearing for the file was held on October 3rd, 2023, and we have our Community Planning and Development Director, Ann Schneider, joining us virtually. Ann, I'll let you take it away, and please give us any information on the deliberation and those conversations that happened with the Planning Commission, if you would.
Absolutely. First, I would just note that this is a really complete application, and I think that really speaks to the county's creation of community development team. And we were able to meet numerous times with the applicant and really provide a lot of guidance on priorities and concerns that were identified early on. And so it was really noted by the Planning Commission and staff that the application was very complete and very thorough. And a sketch plan certainly is an opportunity for the applicant to hear from the county about areas of concern and priorities that they want them to focus on coming up at preliminary. And so I think it was the Planning Commission mentioned that they thought that this was a well-vetted process and one of the best sketch plans that they had come forward that they'd seen before. And I think that speaks to the county making a very intentional addition of the community development team to really inform applicants when they come into the community and are considering development within Lake County. And so to that, I have a recommendation from the Planning Commission, and then I can talk a little bit about the deliberation. Both files, I'm going to give you the statement of motion. This statement of motion is applicable to both applications. And so the Planning Commission made a recommendation for conditional approval. Both motions were made on the files on 2313 and 2314 by Abby Dahlman and seconded by Howard Triggs. And the Planning Commission recommends conditional approval to the Board of County Commissioners of file 2313 and 2314, the Gateway Village Major Subdivision Sketch Plan and the Gateway Village PUD sketch plan located north of the city of Leadville on 416, part of the ditch placer 14980, containing 43.37 acres with the following conditions. Number one, the Division of Water Resources comments that the office does not have information on file regarding Parkville's ability to supply the development as is required by state statute and must be provided to the state engineer's office. This matter shall be adequately addressed prior to the submittal of the preliminary plan. Number two, the Department of Water notes that the stormwater detention and infiltration facility may also be subject to statutory and administrative requirements. This also will necessarily need to be accomplished to adequately review the preliminary plan. Number three, the applicant shall make direct contact with the U.S. Corps of Engineers to verify that Section 404 does not apply. Number four, the applicant shall ensure the formal submission of the traffic impact study to CDOT and address the potential need for an access permit for the emergency ingress egress. Number five, the applicant shall include childcare facilities within the zoning control document. Number six, the applicant shall review the county engineer comments and address them at or prior to the preliminary plan. Number seven, the applicant must be compliant with the Lake County 1041 regulations. Number eight, all statements made by the applicant in their application and in hearing are considered as conditions of approval unless modified by other conditions of approval. And number nine, the applicant shall consider the provision of a public trail easement on the final plat along the outer perimeter of the subdivision and made the following findings. That as conditioned, the proposed sketch plan is consistent with the Lake County Comprehensive Plan. That as conditioned, the proposed sketch plan is consistent with the Lake County Land Development Code. Number three, that as conditioned, the proposed sketch plan is spatially efficient. That as conditioned, the proposed sketch plan is suitable for development. That as conditioned, the proposed sketch plan is compatible with the surrounding uses. And that as conditioned, the proposed sketch plan does have adequate facilities. During the deliberation, the Planning Commission added not the condition about the perimeter trail. They really wanted to communicate that they agree with the need for connectivity and future planning efforts, and this will allow for the ability for that to come to fruition or be a vital part of that next step. Also, they mentioned through the deliberation and kind of echoed all the feedback that the applicant received, talked about the traffic planning, talked about how critical this area is both from a commuter standpoint as well as a safety standpoint. And I think the applicant really heard all of the concerns through the public hearing process about making sure that the next stage of development really brings forth a well-vetted traffic plan to be very mindful of the impact in that area that we're already experiencing, and making sure that it aligns with also CDOT, the planning area that we've been working on, the county's been working on in conjunction with CDOT as well. Also, identified the important role the Metro District will play. It's a very critical role, and identified in the public hearing was the need to make sure that this district really is brought forward at preliminary with more detail as far as, for instance, pro forma, to make sure that that is well vetted because of the management of not just one community, but two communities, relying on the ability for this district to perform efficiently and effectively. And also the need for childcare. Housing obviously was kind of at the forefront of a lot of the discussion, but that childcare is an equally important topic and need of the community that is in discussion right now. And so the applicant was given good direction on consideration of facilities that could be designed efficiently to provide that opportunity as well. And I think, so overall, the Planning Commission felt that the condition, which includes all statements made by the application in hearing. We heard from the applicant that they were listening to those concerns and felt that they would include them within their next stage of development or respond to them so that we can make a well-informed decision at a preliminary application review. So I think that's everything that I have. And what I would communicate from the Planning Commission that they would like the board to hear, but happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions?
Well, I guess the question is, just to make sure I'm understanding, so I thought there was a really good discussion in the Planning Commission hearing about, you know, some of those ideas of sort of connectivity to the rest of the county and the city, especially as it expands out sort of rail yards 1, 2, and 3, and, you know, connection to maybe some other future trail networks. Is it enough that discussion was had in the hearing that we can, that those are issues that we can come back to at the preliminary stage?
Absolutely. Those are really, this is the opportunity within the process to really inform that next application. And so yes, that kind of catch-all condition that we have really addresses the applicant's participation with identified concerns at sketch at the next iteration.
Okay. So because I can see how at this point it's kind of hard to write like an explicit condition because we don't even know what other plans the developer's trying to mesh into. So I think I'm satisfied that since that was raised in hearing, you can keep having those discussions and come back to it.
I was wondering if there was some stronger language.
Yeah.
That we could use, because I do appreciate the conversation about the trails. I think it was a little, through our experience, my experience in these, you know, even the rail yard might be an example of an easement put in, but not a trail. Actually, I don't know if they're required to build the trail, and that, for one thing, even more recently. I think, you know, also through our experience of having people get upset about, well, 10 years down the road, now parts of their backyard, it's feeling like it's going to be taken away because there's an easement and they had no idea or something. So I just having been through all of those little things, I wonder, and I don't necessarily, I maybe just wanna create that expectation of those conversations to have between now, and preliminary if this is passed, an earnest effort for the planning and design of a true connectivity that's not just a trail, but really will, make access to that neighborhood, and make it feel a bit more integrated, will happen. And to me, that includes conversations with, other surrounding developers and all those other pieces that, the city might, there's an easement for, but let's figure out how those things actually get built, instead of just having them in theory. So I am afraid I didn't craft a specific suggestion, but
So would you say like with condition number 9, the provision of a public trail easement on the final plat with the outer perimeter of the development, that you would encourage that condition to be an easement and construction?
I think anything, yeah, I guess maybe like a real plan brought to us on not just the easement, but a construction of anything on the property. And then also I'd love to add something in writing here that's addresses kind of just really being a part of the conversation and part of the development in design for the demand based on the project, and also financial. I mean, I don't know what that looks like, but we're doing the planning there. And is it better for sidewalks to come up and along Highway 24, or is that trail that's gonna cross them and then move them up through some private properties on the east side of Highway 24 really gonna be the safest route? But
Right.
how do we capture that to make sure that we're really having those conversations, and figuring out roles and responsibility across all parties before we get, as much as we
Too far,
can
yeah.
before we get to sketch plan.
So I have a proposal, I hear what you're saying, I mean, so looking at that, condition number 9, just for discussion, proposing like we could strike the word easement, so it's actually trail, not just a trail easement. And then also at the end of that sentence, sort of have comma, and, cause this is all considering, like, so, at the end of that sentence be like comma, and multimodal connectivity to the county and city.
To other, or connectivity to the urban core.
Yeah,
Sure. And I also, just to reiterate, and I think you did mention on it a little bit, like I'm thinking of these conditions as requirements of the conversation that I would like to see between now and a preliminary. And even if if the applicant brings something that's like, we really exhausted all options and we can't even think about doing this, which would of course not make for the strongest application in a preliminary, but I'm like throwing the wish list out here. If the applicant gave us a preliminary application with these things included, with some financial and responsibility and planning for it, of course that would be, that's my thought on setting these conditions. And then that preliminary, through those partnerships and the coordinated conversations, the preliminary could result in who knows what.
May I make a suggestion?
Yes, please.
So you may want to, certainly if public improvements are part of the eventual outcome, they will have to be bonded through the subdivision improvement agreement. But I do think maybe at this point where we're at the sketch phase, maybe something that could be wordsmithed around bringing forth a connectivity plan. So consideration of the perimeter trail accompanied by a fully vetted connectivity plan. And so that they take a deeper dive into what might be possible. Some of that knowing that will be outside of their borders and on private property. And so, there will have to be cooperation with numerous stakeholders involved. But I do think that we could ask them to come to the table at preliminary with bringing forth some plans for future connectivity. So I think just expanding on the condition to include a connectivity plan. And then, asking for a collaborative approach and looking for identifying other stakeholders to participate in those conversations. And so that at preliminary, we have a broader look at the connectivity.
So, and that could read, the applicant shall consider the provision of a public trail on the final plat and along the outer perimeter of the development provided to us through a connectivity plan with stakeholders identified through this planning process for future connectivity.
That sounds great.
Okay, like something along that.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Cool.
I had a couple other questions unless
ahead.
you have something.
No, go ahead. I'll do
Pressing.
it after you guys.
And you mentioned, like, I think maybe specifically in reference to the Alta Metro District, but I would love to put a condition in there for financial and experience resumes and background to be provided to us with references that you can, vet, to give us, when we get to that, if we get to that preliminary plan, phase.
Also like a pro forma, and so you would like references, experience and reference, and a pro forma.
Yes, please. Yeah, and
For
maybe
the
that
operation of the
actually,
metro district?
no,
Sorry.
for LDG,
Oh, okay.
for, and actually that kind of brings up another question, that I just maybe had, if Melissa's sitting in the audience, if I maybe could ask her, or whoever would be appropriate. And maybe staff knows this, and I'm sorry, it just, like, I think it would be helpful to understand what that chain of communication and like some mapped out whose role is what in the entirety of the project, just would be very helpful for me. I'm curious, who, I know Michael Leahy had come to us about perhaps partnering on land banking and infrastructure, and I'm wondering who's signing those grants ultimately, who's responsible for that?
Do you think that that's a very relevant clarifying question that could be answered by the applicant? And I think that that's a clarifying question which is absolutely appropriate at our meeting today.
Great, well, thank you very much.
Hi, Melissa.
Yeah, for your time and interest. I wasn't sure under what circumstances we would get to talk, so that's good clarification. And Jackie, you might actually be able to help us with some of this, but, LDG is the master developer, and undoubtedly there will be other developers that will come under that umbrella as we move forward, because we have the single family, we have the townhome, we have multifamily, and so some of that is at market rate. But those are different product types, and the financing of those are gonna be different. So as we move forward, and certainly by the time we get to preliminary plan and an application with the county, we'll have that clarified. So right now, again, LDG is the master developer. And we will be working in partnership with the county as it relates to the ownership of the land for the affordable housing, the workforce housing component of this. So that needs to be worked out as we go forward. So
that we agreed to participate and submit that letter of interest for the infrastructure pieces. Right. Who do we continue to work with specifically on that? And I imagine we have some agreement.
Yeah.
That's can anyone answer that question with us?
We'll be working with LDG at
Okay.
this stage, as the developer.
Okay,
They will, as we are finishing up the October 11th, right, like that's 2 days from now, is when that we're required to have approval for this phase of development. And so with that, we will, the property will change hands and the ownership will transfer to LDG. And that's the current plan as it stands right now. And so with that, then we're gonna be in a position to negotiate with the housing authority. So Jackie, I don't know if it's okay for me to ask her to speak at this.
And I would just, I'm sorry, I'm happy to let Jackie speak as well, but I would also say that Chapin and I both on the Regional Housing Authority Development Committee, and so the Development Committee will really be working, and Jackie can elaborate on that as well, with the development, and we are looking at potentially working with a third-party consultant as well, as we would vet this project and the public-private partnership arrangement. And so that would largely be done through the development subcommittee that works for the Regional Housing Authority to inform development review.
okay. And we can, I mean, I know the conversations and any agreements are yet to be had, but am I understanding it right in that the housing authority could or should be relied on for exercising a lottery and those kinds of things? And as we discussed in the file, or in the hearing on the 3rd, LDG is their model is to continue management of their properties, correct?
Right, that's
Okay.
correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just wanna repeat that, cause I think it's worth having that here too in this setting, this recording. But Jackie, anything to add on?
No, I mean, in the letter that we put in the file, we talked about looking forward to having an opportunity to negotiate a partnership and to, work together. We're very excited about the prospect of all of these affordable units coming into the community. So it's gonna be an ongoing conversation, and there's nothing that we can say right now. We did submit that, the county did submit that letter of interest for the Strong Communities Grant, and we have a pre-application meeting coming up on October 19th with that, so.
And kind of along those lines, I guess, aside from the application specifically, but, I think Melissa understands there's been in enough conversations, and Michael perhaps, but as these conversations develop, and I understand that sometimes these things come out and opportunities are presented very last minute with some response, but as the county is pursuing, planning on Harrison Avenue and another 11 acres and what, or if any other opportunities of what to do with our lands, as much as we would love to have all the resources to incentivize and make projects work easily, or one project work, it's gonna be that constant conversation of, what's at hand, what's ready to go, what can we afford, where can we create the best, strongest partnerships to leverage the most resources from the state or other sources, across projects. But just wanted to, anybody wanna elaborate or restate that more eloquently? Commissioner Marcella, I'm curious what you think
Yeah.
about condition number 5, including the
Um,
childcare facility in the zoning document. Is that meant to just be so that something could be allowed, Anne, in the zoning document, not requiring, again, any kind of facility to be built?
Correct. And we're just making sure that it would be an allowed use within their hybrid zoning, and identifying for them the critical need within the community.
Sure. Currently, Bright Start is in need of a new facility because we could enroll more children in our services right now if we had a facility that met licensing requirements. But we're limited in our capacity because of our space. So I think that's fine, having space for a childcare facility, because that is one piece of the puzzle, but I would encourage them to reach out to current licensed childcare facilities, because I think if you look at the saturation of, if you have too many facilities, you don't have enough teaching staff, right? So I would just encourage them to work with current licensed childcare facilities for expansion. I don't know if that's something that I don't know if you necessarily want to put that in there as a condition, or if that's just saying it on record is enough in that aspect, Ann, and I'll just kind of defer to you on that.
I would suggest that it is enough to have brought it to their attention and allow them to respond with what their investigation brings forth at preliminary, and then we can, the county would be able to respond at that point to their proposal. But I think it's definitely, it was great to bring it forward, and I think it is enough to have brought it forward as a priority for the community, and then allow them to respond at preliminary.
Okay, that would be great. The other,
Can I just
yeah, go ahead.
add on
No,
to
go
that
ahead,
though,
go ahead.
just to
Yes.
make sure that it's clear, cause I don't really think we kinda got into that this consideration. I really love that idea of making that space for a facility if it's appropriate at the location, but also being prepared to have that conversation of some fee in lieu of to expand on other existing facilities because of the demographics that should be housed in the project on another location. So I think that would be a good thing to be prepared to have a conversation around, that socioeconomic impact.
Okay, I put that in there
Yeah,
then as
I
a
like-
note. And then really, I guess, and the biggest thing that stands out to me is condition number 4, the applicant shall ensure formal submission of traffic impact study to CDOT and address potential need for an access permit for emergency ingress and egress. And I know when we were in the hearing, there was a lot of conversation around, there is an emergency egress that looks like it goes out to Highway 91, and the point was taken that if there's not like a chain or some kind of signage, that isn't to be used as a primary mode of entry and exit into the subdivision, that could have impacts on traffic on Highway 91. And then I think historically, not necessarily at the intersection of Highway 24 and 91, we haven't seen a lot of accidents at that intersection per se, but we have had a lot of feedback regarding the entry and exit of Mountain Valley Estates on Highway 91, because it presents a natural acceleration up Fremont Pass or into Lake County, and so people don't naturally slow down at that location, or it slows down to 55, back to 65, down to 35. And I know that there is an acceleration lane at Mountain Valley Estates, but there is a private residence out there and the mobile home park. And so I think adding this development there adds additional traffic in that area, and so I would strongly encourage that the access permit for the ingress and egress, and also some conversation with CDOT about traffic as a whole in that on Highway 91. If that's the intended main entrance and exit of the subdivision, and then just as that one, it just is looks like a 2-lane road out there, but with proper acceleration and deceleration lanes to accommodate that this development, Mountain Valley Estates and the residents out there, and there's some businesses, as you're coming up 91 too, but just so that none of those areas have negative impacts of the traffic as well.
Absolutely. Yes, this is certainly a pain point, even as it exists today with Mountain Valley Estates, and concerns of even that access point. And so there is a reliance that CDOT is aware of these concerns in the community, but absolutely it will be brought to the forefront at the next stage. The condition responds to a condition that CDOT, it was their response to the application, and basically they were suggesting that at this point in a sketch plan, they won't, their intention is not to provide a high level of degree of review yet until preliminary, until the traffic impact study is done and submitted to them, and then they would come back with what would be required of the main access in that area. And certainly happy to work with the county and as well that we communicate those concerns to CDOT in consideration of these accesses. There has been quite a bit of discussion with CDOT through all of the different, at least the phases of construction, of development that have been considered since I've been with the county. We've had numerous conversations with them. And so I think that they're very prepared for the outcomes. Certainly the roundabout has been considered for traffic volumes much high, which can accommodate much higher traffic volumes, but absolutely the onus will be 100% put on the applicant to be able to bring forth a traffic plan in this area. And we can certainly make sure that CDOT is cognizant of those very real concerns and needs of the community in that area with this new population center creating a new degree of impact. The accesses, certainly happy to put a condition on, but may not be necessary. The fire department typically, and emergency services typically make the requirements of those emergency accesses. So typically they will provide guidance to the applicant at preliminary about maintaining those as restricted areas for only to be used for emergencies. And absolutely, we've all seen, I think one of the areas that we immediately already know is the access out onto 24. The Bureau of Reclamation had indicated that they'd had some challenges in keeping those gates closed that already exist there from the residents of Mountain Valley Estates using them. So those are real concerns, and we'll make sure that we duly note those and condition them at preliminary. Here's my influenza kid. Sorry.
Sorry. Okay, I think that answers my question.
I did just have another comment, a couple comments on, like, really, I would like to see those conversations attempted and kind of explored with Leadville Sanitation on possible integration with a brand new system. And so I don't know if that needs to be a separate condition really for that earnest exploration with the district. But as we've seen, again, I just don't think it can hurt to repeat. We have some challenges in separate smaller districts managing water delivery and sanitation collection. And if we can consolidate that, I think that would be wise for everyone.
Absolutely. Staff had conversations with at least one board member from Leadville San about this eventual proposal. And so there was a little bit of information in the staff report about that, but I do know that the applicant has reached out for conversations with the district. and will continue to do so. I think that they immediately see the benefit in that as well. They've noted that within their application.
Thanks, Ann. And then also, I'm curious to ask if our Public Works Director has comments, but my last comment would be on emphasizing that drainage piece, and, maybe I missed it, or maybe the docs just aren't as detailed on that stormwater retention and movement, or the intention to move the water across or around the property. But as I think just before the board left to the hearing meeting, conversation was happening around snow storage, and there's that parking areas, and those impermeable surface areas are right around the exterior of the property that I might guess could potentially heavily impact runoff to adjacent properties. And we are also in the middle of kind of dealing with a lot of that, and so, again, just particular attention. And Michael, do you have anything to
No, I
add
mean,
there or on something else?
Everything that I've seen on the drawings and stuff, they do have adequate snow storage and settling ponds to let the water not leave the property, and everything will be directed to those ponds. Obviously, there's always a chance of overflowing, but.
Okay, excellent.
And the only other comment I have on the roads is, I still don't like roundabouts. They're just difficult, but, I don't, as long as the county's not taking care of them, I don't have a problem with them. And if we did end up with them someday, I'm sure we figure it out.
Well, I think that's probably gonna be a part of the conversation on ultimate design and, on those pieces of infrastructure, and what the reality is of the, like, actual, the management of LDG, on the physical property and the housing units. But appreciate that, appreciate the comments. I think that's all that I had, so I don't know if we wordsmith something on that pro forma piece, Anne, or if you can add something like that in there for us. Otherwise, maybe I just going back to item 5, the facilities, the childcare facilities in the zoning control document would, or other mitigating considerations, presenting other mitigating, proposals.
Yeah, I don't know how you wanna wordsmith that, I think that sounds okay though.
Okay. Control documents,
I had put in just a little bit of.
so we
but I don't know
added
how
a
to-
little to item 9 on the connectivity and the trail. Item 5, we can add, or other mitigating, proposals, or,
Do you wanna screen share your notes, Kayla?
It's in the Teams document,
Yeah,
on,
on the screen,
hold on.
see how fancy we can get here. So in the Teams link to statement of motion 23-13, Kayla's been capturing language.
I've had that on, I'm just looking for my agenda so I can log into Zoom and share it.
Oh.
Sorry about that. Well, if you have it,
I do.
we have it.
Well, I do have a suggestion on the pro forma resume and reference, if you want to capture this or first capture it and see if it would align with what the board's thinking. The applicant shall provide resume, reference, and pro forma in respect to the master developers, subsequent developers, and the Alta District at preliminary.
References,
References, pro forma, and pro forma.
okay,
Yep,
okay, say that one more time, Ann.
sure. The applicant shall provide
Okay,
resumes, reference, and pro formas in respect to the master developer, subsequent developers, and Alta Colorado District, the Alta District, I'm sorry, the Alta District. That preliminary plan.
okay, I have that in there too. So
Okay.
that would be condition number 10.
So did those three
Those three.
kind of changes?
Yeah, with the childcare, sir, I just wanna make sure I got, I only put in here to ask applicant to provide fee in lieu or bring plan forward for expansion of current operations of licensed centers.
Okay, I have a question about that because we don't have anything within our, so a fee in lieu. Okay, so let me back up, just make sure I understand that, that one real quick.
Okay, how about just, or other, proposals to mitigate community childcare needs?
I think that's great. That's great.
Okay. Okay, got it. Got it,
Alright,
okay. So with those additional conditions, do we feel better?
I think
Okay,
Yeah, I think, yeah,
okay,
that covers a bunch. We altered condition number 5 and 9, and then added 10. Alright,
alright. Do you want me to read those additional conditions or alterations of conditions into the record, Anne?
I think that would be great. I think that you could make a motion to approve based on the statement of motion with the with the following additions.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve file 23-13 as read into the record with the addition of the following conditions. In addition to condition number 5, that the applicant will offer a proposal or plan to mitigate future community childcare needs. With condition number 9, okay, wait, I have to find the right comment here, sorry. That the applicant will also provide a connectivity plan with identified stakeholders through this planning process for future connectivity to urban core. And add condition number 10, that the applicant must provide references, pro forma resumes in respect to the master developers, subsequent developers, and in regard to the Alta Colorado Metro District at preliminary plan.
great.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
None for me, thank you.
None for me?
Alright, hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay.
Excellent, thank you, Anne. Does that cover? that
13
covers
and
both?
14.
13 and 14? Okay.
Alright,
No, maybe note for the record that approval is for both files.
13 and 14, okay. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks for being here,
Melissa.
Melissa. Alright, we'll move on to item 3. We have the discussion and consideration of a proposal for fleet maintenance by retiring vehicles, and our auctioning of them on govdeals.com. We have Michael here. Michael, do you have a list for us?
Yeah, I do.
This is a routine. county's required to auction off our assets. And every once in a while, Michael brings us a list of those assets he is suggesting.
Do you want me to read them off?
Sure.
There's 24 of them. So starting with the airport, we're looking at getting rid of the Dodge truck, which is a 1990 Power Ram 250. Building department, we're looking at the 2008 Ford Explorer. Commissioners, we're looking at 2015 Toyota RAV4. Emergency management, a 1991 Chevy 3500, which is an ambulance. Health department, 2 cars from there, both the Yaris, which is a 2009 Toyota Yaris, and a 2013 Ford Escape. Note, all of these are over 5 years old, so and our plan is to get rid of or trade out and have a fleet that's not over 5 years old. From Human Services, a 2007 Ford Freestyle. From the landfill, a 1995 Blue Jeep Cherokee. From maintenance, an F-250, a 2000 F-250, a 1977 CJ7, a 2005 Jeep Rubicon, a 1995 Ford F-250, a 2007 Ford F-250, a 2000 Ford F-150, and a 1997 Ford 350. And then from Road and Bridge Maintenance, a 2004 Ford F-250, 1997 Volvo dump truck, actually 2 of those, so dump 1 and dump 2. A 1993 Cat 936, a 2004 Mack truck, which is also a plow 4, so it's got 2 plows on it. Search and rescue, a 1997 Chevy Tahoe. The senior center, a 2007 Jeep Liberty, and I think right now it's with gold. The sheriff's office, a 2008 Chevy Trailblazer, and a 2016 Ford wagon, which is the Transit Connect that got rear-ended, so it's basically just for scrap. And that's it.
I have a question for you. With some of the, I've mentioned it a little bit, but I don't think we ever organized a conversation with our partners like Arwick or on like the chipping program and building that up. Are some of those, it might be really good to incorporate some of that old fleet with those programs perhaps, or are you thinking that anything that we might get up and running would use our newer vehicles?
So everything's running right now, I mean, operational. Some of it obviously doesn't have the safety stuff anymore. Some of the pickups might be good, but they're pretty well beaten because they're, plow trucks in the wintertime. We've done a lot of replacements on front ends and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that's up to you guys. If you wanna work, with those options.
Okay. I don't know which vehicles to suggest are part of that, but I think if we organize that conversation, we could figure out if that's even worthwhile or not. Can we do that before we finalize the list?
Sure, I think I meant, so you're like basically kind of giving some other partner organizations kind of like a first.
Well, maybe we've done that with I think we did that with a partner in the last 3 years, but primarily really if we have the chipping program, we have this dump bed truck, is that a good part of our developing program? I am not sure. We really haven't kind of gone down too far in that. So maybe like 2 or 3 of these vehicles could be reallocated for that project.
Yeah, probably, actually the dump bed I forgot is not in here. I could put it in there because We were looking at doing that, the, fire department wanted to buy it to haul a trailer around the neighborhood so that they could, pick up slash and bring it to the landfill, especially with the air burner coming online, hopefully very soon. But I'm not sure that they got the grant for the trailer, so.
Yeah, right, and then that kind of incorporates into what the idea is of developing that chipping program, I think specifically, so. When do you need, is this urgent to finalize? Yeah.
A little bit, I just gotta get it online and, you know, with the weather changing, it's.
Prime
I gotta
time
get
to
Out
get,
of my yard too.
yeah.
I mean, if that dump truck's not on this list, maybe, like, is there a vehicle on here that you're thinking of, Sarah? Or you just wanna have that conversation before we get final approval?
I'd love to have the conversation before we get final approval, I know that was an inquiry of getting some vehicles to do some of the projects up here. Because
coast
we
one?
had, because we had mentioned, getting into a fleet and having older cars, I think we can have that conversation relatively quickly.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think we have so much stuff that we could find something.
Yeah, that's a pretty big list.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's enough that we could find something for them to use.
That of the remaining fleet
Yeah,
after we liquidate?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, cause I mean, on here, there's the 1990 Dodge Ram, but other than that, I mean, there's the ambulance,
There's a bunch of F-250s.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
On the list?
Yeah.
Right, but and that's what I don't know either, I think just even traveling up to do the project management up here is a
Oh.
curiosity too. And they would purchase them, but we just haven't had that conversation. But are you saying that even with the liquidating the list? I mean, I don't know, I think, I wouldn't want anybody to, I wouldn't wanna give a partner a vehicle to travel with like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
But if there's a possibility to give them something, not
to
give
keep
them
in mind
something.
Also is, they're not on the list either, but the 2017 truck that I'm driving and the 2015 Silverado that Brad used to drive, they're both being replaced too this year.
Are those going into enterprise though?
No,
Oh,
not yet, because they're owned by the county.
uh-huh,
So
So
from
we
now
have to
on,
give
as
those back.
soon as the cars from Enterprise start going back in 5 years, it'll be just a swap out with cars.
oh, okay, so enterprise has no interest in any of the vehicles we have to
No,
get rid of?
But, you know, they have like some base prices for those two trucks, you know, like 30 grand for one and like 28 for the other.
Yeah,
So, the equity that's built up in those trucks that we already have in those trucks is what we don't wanna lose.
right. Yeah, no, I don't think, I don't think our partners are looking to spend that kind of money either. And my understanding of the whole fleet program was, right, exactly that, keep that equity in there and keep that revolving.
Going forward.
Would you guys entertain approval of the list after a conversation
Yeah.
with Michael
Yeah.
and Jonathan, Michael and Jonathan have a conversation to
Jonathan.
see if
from
anything,
Okay.
could be useful
It's
in the
like a
projects?
couple weeks to try to.
Or
Yeah,
a
I
few
mean, we've got,
days?
Yeah,
we do have a little bit of time because we gotta get pictures taken off all of them and get the ads put up on, you know, get ready for Gov Deals, so.
yeah,
By the way, everything is going to Gov Deals, which we've auctioned up to them before.
Okay.
And they're fair, I mean, they even worked right down to the last minute with bidders, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good to me. I
Okay,
will, make a motion that we, give me just a second to find it in the packet, sorry, the right agenda. I will make a motion that we approve, retiring fleet vehicles and auctioning them on gov deals pending the conversation with Arwick. If there is a vehicle that is usable for them.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
None for me, thank you.
No, I just say it's great to, shed stuff that's so old, yeah. That's
And
great.
we do have, like, maintenance is got new trucks, landfill will have a new truck this year. Road and Bridge will have basically 3 that we weren't expecting, they just ended up being able to swap 2 of them out. We did have one in the plans, but we do have, like, for, public health, we do have 1 vehicle that we already have in stock that we can check out to them, cause they use it all the time, we go do restaurant inspections and stuff like that.
Okay.
The same with human services, we have enough fleet right now that we usually have something available.
Yeah. Okay.
Excellent. Alright, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Alright, item 4, we have the discussion consideration of the appointment of Commissioner Jeff Fiedler to Leadville Lake County Regional Housing Authority. It was led by Tim, but Tim was on our board. Tim, do you wanna take it away, or would you like me to give a brief overview? Hopefully brief overview.
Sure. So for the I guess the creation documents and the IGA of the Regional Housing Authority, the county has 2 seats on there, 1 is vacant, and board can appoint someone else.
Okay.
I think, the city has 2 seats, they have 2 council members, I think we're just trying, and the housing authority is new and has a lot of policy guidance decisions to staff to make, so just trying to get, or board input into those decisions
Sounds
Yep.
good.
Excellent.
and free up time of Tim.
Yeah, free up your time. Thank you for your service, Tim.
Yeah.
I will make a motion that we appoint Commissioner Fiedler to the Leadville Lake County Regional Housing Authority.
I'll second. Any further discussion?
None for me, thank you.
Not for me.
Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I,
Alright, and last on our list, we have an executive session. I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session. For A, to consider the purchase, acquisition, lease, transfer, or sale of real, personal, or other property pursuant to CRS 24-6-402 4A, and to determine positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, develop a strategy for negotiations, and/or instruct negotiators pursuant to CRS 24-6-402 4E, as well as B, to hold conference with the county attorney to receive legal advice on specific legal questions pursuant to CRS 24-6-402 4B.
So moved.
second.
Any further discussion? Just thank you all, everyone else, for joining us. We're gonna invite
Oh, yep,
Jackie into the,
Michael?
Oh.
Yeah, cause I thought we wanted to, if you can stay for a few minutes, please.
okay, we're gonna invite
Oh, yeah.
the Public Works Director, and the Housing Director to join us. And if there's no further discussion, I will take a vote at 1:06.
Aye.
Aye,
I.
alright, and we'll go into executive session at 1:06. Thank you very much. Thanks, Tracy.
Thank you.